Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel for another Solana update. Now, in today's video I've got a lot of stuff to go through. I haven't made an update on Sol in the past 5 days. I am seeing a lot of people talking about Sol and some of the altcoins after we've had our most recent bounce in the past week. So that is going to be the main focus of this video. We're going to be looking at the Sol USD pair, the BTC pair, talking about how it's been holding up, talking about how the altcoin market cap is holding up at this moment in time, what to expect coming into next week on the stock market and the dollar, and how this will all tie into the price action that we are going to expect to see within the next week for Solana. So with all that being said, let's jump right into today's video. As you can imagine, we've got a lot of stuff to go through, so I'm going to quick fire through these different points that I want to make. Let's start off on the 4-hourly time frame. Now, if we zoom out, we've basically been bearish, bar this one fake out. We've been bearish on the 4-hourly time frame since we had this massive dead cat bounce back up to the 0.5 Fibonacci. We broke back down, broke back up, rejected from the 618, broke back down, and had a dead cat bounce up to the 786. And since then, obviously, as you can imagine, the trend has been your friend. We've been super bearish since the EMA ribbons flipped bearish at roughly $125. Since then, you can see boom, 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 boom. We keep on coming back up to these EMA ribbons on the 4-hourly time frame and then just getting pushed back down. And what you will notice is, just like we are seeing right now, in the very micro time frames, we are making a micro uptrend. Just like we were making a micro uptrend within this massive bearish pennant. What do you notice that we did? Let's just call this a local high and, not talk about what we saw before this, just to make this super simple. So we ran up, local time frame, made a local high, broke down from the trend line that we were pushing up on. We broke back up, made a dead cat bounce and a lower high from the initial bounce. So if we highlight this here, lower high, broke back down in the macro time frame, and then once again we start a micro trend. We come up, make another lower high, and with this we didn't even make a bounce, we just went straight down. And then, as you can see, we've got a new smaller time frame uptrending level of support, lower high, breakdown, dead cat bounce, lower high, breakdown. As you can see, running up in the lower time frames, lower high, break below this, dead cat bounce. And at this moment in time, I believe, in my opinion, that we are solidifying a lower high, and we are getting ready to run back down to the downside. Bear in mind, on this micro time frame, you can see, I believe there's actually a head and shoulder and an inverse one here. So let's just see what we've got going on right now. So as you can see, left shoulder, right shoulder, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, we have broken down from the head and shoulders pattern. Now let's extrapolate the price target of this and talk about where this should head down to. So from the breakdown, one candle over, actually right here, this should take us down to this massive support range between the levels of $26 and $19, which, by the way, if you're new to the channel, first of all, warm welcomes, but if you're a veteran, you should recognize this price range because this constitutes a bunch of candle body closes and wicks from the previous triple bottom structure we had in May of 2021 before Solana had its run up to the previous all-time high. So this was basically the floor before we made new all-time high. So this is going to be a massive area of support, and we were talking about this massive area of support for quite a long time, at least since $72. And as such, it's not surprising that we came down to the top of this box, bounced, and as you know, as I always say on my channel, the more often you touch support and resistance, the weaker and weaker it gets. So what does that mean? If we were on the upside going boom, 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 I'd be saying, okay, this is likely to break because we keep on testing it. And at some point, if you keep on crashing against it, you're likely to break through it. And as you can see here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 touch points so far on this. Now, an example of when support and resistance gets weaker and weaker in a very similar market structure to this, because bear in mind, we've broken down, made a perfect bear flag, you've broken below the bear flag, had a dead cat bounce, and you've solidified this as resistance. When was the last time we did something like this? Well, you can see massive fall to the downside, and we found support at $36. We bounced up into this bear flag, held it, broke down, back tested the floor, back tested the floor, back tested the floor, back tested the floor, and on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th touch point, we massively landslided below it. So as you can see, the more often you touch support and resistance, the more likely it is to break later on down the line. And I do think the next time we do come down to $26, that is going to be the last time we see it for a while, when we are going to capitulate below it and head down to my price targets of $19. Now, $19 is not actually my most macro price target at this moment in time. I am also targeting $11, which is a massive fall from where we are right now. You know, this from $31 down to 11 would basically mean, you know, the market cap of Solana would be round about 3 billion, which I still do think is more, at least I associate, you know, 3 to 4 billion as a more fair representation of what I believe the fair value of Solana should be at this moment in time. Bear in mind, this cryptocurrency is still in its beta stage. There has been a ton of problems with the network recently, and I do like Solana. You know, once again, I'll say this again for people who are new to my channel. If you go over to my YouTube banner, you know, my profile pic is a Solana NFT. These raccoons here are part of the Degen Trash Panda project, which is a Solana NFT. I've also got Solana and Solana tokens in my banner. So by no means am I a hater. I'm just looking at this objectively, just like I have been for months, and it's been crashing ever since we really flipped bearish. So I still do think this is going to head down. I want to talk about $11 at a later date, because at this moment in time, $19 is still what I see coming into fruition, which is the next leg down. At this moment in time, the micro price target we do have is $24, and we are also potentially setting up a very tiny bunny hill. As you can see on the 4-hourly time frame, we come into the EMA ribbons, come into the EMA ribbons, come into the EMA ribbons, and if we look at the squeeze bomb, you can see correlates to a bunny hill, bunny hill, bunny hill, and with these bunny hills, you've got a high, lower high, lower high, and even if we do flip over very temporarily, and I think it would be super temporarily, you could also see this potentially playing out as another lower high before we do head much further down. So I would like to emphasize that even in the 4-hourly time frame, or I mean, you know, maybe if you're looking at this on the 1-hourly time frame and this is the only structure that you're looking at, it may look okay. Let me see, in the inverse chart, it's much easier to spot head and shoulders. So, I mean, this is pretty ugly, but you can see left shoulder, head, right shoulder. So if you did manage to flip above this, then yeah, you might be having an inverse head and shoulders back to the upside. But nonetheless, I really don't think we'd get higher than $36. And even if we do come up to $36, you know, I do think we'd start landsliding past that point. So bear in mind, I don't think the bottom is in. While the Fed keeps on raising the interest rates, then the bottom is not going to be in. And also, we are kind of slowing down and lollygagging right now for most of the cryptos, because Bitcoin is currently in a capitulation phase. Weekly time frame, this was brutal what we just experienced, but on the daily time frame, 4-hourly time frame, you can very much see that we are lollygagging at this red horizontal line, which represents Bitcoin's previous all-time high. So, you know, it's absolutely not surprising whatsoever to see Bitcoin want to lollygag around its previous all-time high before it decides on its next major move. But I would like to highlight, you know, as you can see here, you come into the EMA ribbons, break down, come into the EMA ribbons, break down, come into the EMA ribbons, and you can already see that we're starting to trickle down. So I do think in the next 24 hours or so, we can expect for Bitcoin to start heading down, and subsequently potentially Solana to head down. Now Sol BTC is starting to head down on the daily time frame, down 2.3%. It has been outperforming Bitcoin in the past week, but once again we are finding ourselves at a critical stage where we are sitting in that daily EMA ribbon again, and this is just something that we've really not been able to have a successful flip of since the all-time high, and you might consider this a successful flip. In my opinion, this would be a fake out, because what I constitute to be a successful flip is to flip above the EMA ribbons, come back down into the EMA ribbons, back test them, and it is not a successful flip until you break the invalidation zone, which at this point would be, you know, this horizontal ray right here where we got rejected. We didn't do that. We broke above them, back tested, failed the back test. So, you know, until we do something like that, you know, I really don't think the bottom is in. So Sol BTC, I think we're going to start seeing a turnaround very soon, and I think this is probably going to start coming down pretty hard, maybe another 57-58% from where we are at this moment in time. Bear in mind, once again, zoom out, the trend is your friend. Until we have that macro flip, I'd still be sitting on the sideline, and I still, do think that for Sol USD. Now, if we quickly move over onto the daily time frame before we talk about what's going on with the stock market opening to happen over on Monday, if we hop over to the daily and switch over to the Heikonashis, you can see this is the bounce on the daily time frame. We're really not seeing too much momentum. Squeeze Bomb really just lollygagging for the past week. It hasn't been too much in favor of the bulls or the bears. You can see bearish, bulls try to take control. Oh no, sorry, this was bulls trying to take control, bears trying to take control, bulls kind of trying to take control, bears, and now we've got bulls. But once again, looking at Bitcoin, while this is getting rejected from its previous all-time high, if this starts to move down, this is the area where I subsequently expect Bitcoin to take a mass capitulation and mass fear to enter the markets. I expect the Bitcoin dominance to start bouncing from some of these Fibonacci levels, like the 618 at 44% and like the 786 down here at 43%. I do expect one of these to hold as we do head up in the macro time frame. Now, once again, you know what I'm looking for Sol at this moment in time. If we head over to the weekly, just quickly before we talk about that, I would also like to talk about the massive increase in bearish volume that we've got going on the weekly squeeze bomb, which is a very, very important macro indicator. We've started to trickle back over into light red, which is indicative that bears are about to massively, massively take control of the higher time frames. Also, if you're new to the channel and you didn't know already, from our low to high macro time frame, Sol has destroyed every single Fibonacci we would need to hold to be bullish. And once again, I'd really like to emphasize this. Look at the weekly time frame on the Heikonashis. The trend is your friend until the end. When it starts flipping back green for the second time, that is when I personally am going to be looking at picking up some Sol. But you might be wondering, is there any place where I would personally buy some Solana? And I might actually make a tweet about this later on some of my areas where I'm looking to start DCAing altcoins, because once again, if you're a seasoned veteran to my channel, you'll know that for many months now, I have been very, very adamant not to buy altcoins. We've been saying altcoins are going to get wrecked for the past couple of months, and because of that, we've been able to sit out, while Solana was tumbling from some of these levels around $70 to $80, and we're at the stage right now from when I sold, I can buy my Solana back for much less than half the price. And that is including the bounce that we've recently had. Now, I do expect for the trend to be our friend and to continue moving to the downside. But with that being said, if there was any area where I would have a couple of buy orders, regardless of whether I believe we were going lower or higher, because bear in mind, the point of my channel is to say, we do not have a crystal ball. No one has a crystal ball. We do not know the exact US dollar valuation of the bottom. No one does. And with that being said, what the purpose of this is to try and buy within a certain percentage range of the bottom, not to buy the exact bottom. And because of that, I think if we start coming down to these lower levels, like $11, $10, $9, those are going to be free areas that I am going to be looking at laddering in my buys. Bear in mind, I sold my Solana while we were just above $70. So if we do come down to $10, then I would be able to buy all of my original staking position back for 1/7 of the price. And I'd be very, very happy to do that even if we do go lower. So that's kind of what I see planning out for Solana right now. I talked about this in my update 5 days ago where we talked about a single-digit Sol. And bear in mind, when I say single-digit Sol, I really do think that this means that we could be heading down to either $10 or the high $9, like $9.90, $9.70. That is kind of where I expect Solana to be coming down to. And that is a very good place where I personally think I will be buying. Now, wrapping up the video, once again, I do think in the next 24 hours, Bitcoin's going to start taking that leg to the downside. Because of that, I think Sol BTC, so how Solana's performing against Bitcoin, is going to start moving down. I think this is going to be a leading indicator for Sol USD. I'm expecting us to move down to $26.50 within the next couple of days, maybe the next 48 to 72 hours. And then after that, $19 will be on the table. $15 and then $11. These are all backed up by Fibonacci's. The orange horizontal rays are $15 and $11. I deleted the original fibs just so the chart is a little bit more clear. But wrapping up the video, the total altcoin market is currently sitting at a very important level of support, the micro 786 Fibonacci. All I think that we're doing right now is lollygagging until we make a decision. Just like when we came into this double 618 fib right here, what we did is, because this was a major level of support slash resistance, we just lollygagged into it for a couple of weeks before the next breakdown. And I really wouldn't be too surprised, judging by how fast that we've capitulated, if we do just lollygag for another week before starting to head down. So bear in mind, you know, higher time frames are still very bearish. I think we're getting ready for that next leg down. You know, the SPY closed bearish last week. Yes, it's got a green candle, but that's because it opened lower than the previous candle body closed. So even though it did have a slight pump, it still closed at a lower high from the day before. And we're waiting for the stock market and the dollar to open tomorrow. And once again, stock market's heading down, dollar's heading up. I think if the dollar keeps on pushing up into tomorrow, we will once again be making new all-time or new local highs for the dollar. You know, this is higher than we've been in years and years and years. We haven't been this high for the dollar since 2001. Or 2002 technically. So, you know, bear in mind the dollar is as strong as it's been in 20 years. And I do think we're getting ready for a blow off top on the dollar. And subsequently, when the dollar is having a blow off top is when I think is the perfect time to buy altcoins. And because I think in the next week or so, the dollar, not necessarily the next week, I take that back, within the next 2 months, I think the dollar's getting ready to have a blow off top and a massive, massive run to the upside. And within that 2 months, what I expect is for the stock market to take its final capitulation, either down to the 200 or the 300 week. This would wreck the stock market, this would wreck Bitcoin, and this would wreck the altcoins. And subsequently, I could imagine Solana being around the ranges of $15, $11 and maybe even $9. And once again, between $9 and $11 is when I plan on laddering back into the market. I haven't said that in months now. I have not said in any of my videos that there are any ranges where I'd be looking to buy altcoins right now. But while the dollar's heading up very strongly, while the stock market's heading down, I think we're getting ready for that final capitulation. So bear in mind, I am not buying yet. I do not recommend to DCA yet. I will be letting you know as soon as I start picking up Solana. But as soon as the end of the day, I might set some buy orders down here at $10, and then, you know, we can talk about it at a later day. But as of now, I'm going to start setting a couple of buy orders down here at $10 and $9. Maybe I'll set one at $11. I'm undecided on that yet. But with that all being said, that is all I've got for you for Solana today. Within the next couple of days, I expect $26 to be on the table. I do expect a breakdown from 26, heading us down to between the ranges of $23, which is this breakdown target, and $19. Subsequently, I believe we would be having one final capitulation once we do break below this triple bottom structure, and then Solana might be finding itself between $15 and $11. That is all I've got for you today. Do not get out of bed while we are making lower highs, and as always, cowboy out. Peace.